Hello and welcome to Codebase Alpha. This is S&B here. As you can see, we've got our new webcam up and running. Let me know if the video looks okay or if there's any problems with audio. Obviously we're still in the experimental stage with this stream. I've got some lighting going. I've got a webcam which actually has a lighting ring built into it, and so I'm hoping that's going to cut down on the need for any specialized lighting. But there's some quite bright lighting from the overhead lamp, and I can see that it's giving me a kind of bright spot up here on my head, so I might need to do something about that. So yeah, welcome to episode 7 Codebase Alpha. We're continuing this evening with our Alexa skill, and if you remember, the Alexa skill is designed eventually to integrate into DevChatter's DevStreams project. And as I posted into chat, the idea is that people will be able to ask their Alexa enabled device or their Alexa app when a streamer is streaming, or about their schedule, or who's live at the moment, that kind of question. And so far we've got some very basic stuff going. We've got
Sorry, I don't know that one.
So there's Alexa. I've got an Echo here on the desk we're going to use to do some testing. And so far what we've got it doing is basically responding back with the name of the streamer that we ask about. So this evening we'll expand on that a little bit. I won't go much past that on this stream, because I want to look at security and at some of the requirements for certification that Amazon impose on the skill. So if we can get it working with the basic intent that we've got now, which is when we ask about when so-and-so is streaming next, and then maybe we'll add another intent about who's live now, then we'll move on to doing some basic security checks, making sure that it's the correct skill which is accessing our web service, and then we'll move on to look at some certification requirements. So if I just kind of demonstrate it now, if I say, Alexa, ask live coding, when is DevChatter streaming next?
You have asked about DevChatter and their schedule.
So you see it's responded with that stock phrase which we typed in. So I can show you that over on the Amazon site. Let's just check in there. Okay, go to the Alexa Skills Kit. And this is our skill, the DevStreams skill. And you can see here on we've got our custom intent, which is currently called DevStreams, and we're going to change that. But the utterances I've got in here are: when is channel going live, when is channel streaming next, and when is channel streaming. So these are the sample utterances we've got so far in there, and we'll need to expand on those and build on them to give a kind of a richness of interaction with the Echo device. Now, if you remember, cast your mind back to episode 6, towards the end we had a bit of success. We actually hit a problem which I noticed, I do believe I commented on, was that when we asked the Echo or the Alexa device about a streamer, it would only pick the second word onwards in the slot. So the slot is this channel here. This is like a variable, so the words are going to be placed into this slot. So you say, when is DevChatter going live, DevChatter will go in the slot. Or if you say, when is Codebase Alpha streaming next, Codebase Alpha will fit into here. And what it was doing is it was actually coming back, because we have it reading back to us what we said. It was saying, you asked about chatter, or you asked about alpha. So it was picking up the second word onwards. I think I said, when is no opcat going live, and it came back with opcat. And off stream I had a kind of scratch my head about that and had a look into it, and I believe it's because we had very short utterances in here. I actually had about channel and channel schedule, and I think the utterances were so short that it wasn't able to actually decide what went into the slot and didn't. Even though our utterance profiler, when we used that, did pick it up correctly, the test the test Alexa and also the real Alexa, the Echo device didn't. Ancient Coder, good evening. Welcome to the channel. Good to see you. So yes, news for those who don't know, we actually made affiliate last week. Coded Beard, welcome. Good to see you. We made affiliate, and so yeah, we have. You'll notice we've got a sub badge in there, the green rocket. And there's also our friendly alien, which I can post into chat. This is Alf the alien, who's our hype emote. I'm going to get some more emotes featuring Alf created eventually, but at the moment we're just sticking with that one. Thank you very much, Ancient Code. I was very pleased after just five proper broadcasts to make affiliate. It was very gratifying. So it's only down to the support of the community to push me over that 50 follower barrier, and also to put up the chat, the number of people in chat and conversing in chat. It's fantastic, and I can't really express my gratitude for that. It's quite an interesting process you go through when you get the request, the invite to be an affiliate, and there's kind of tax questionnaires you have to fill in. Luckily they're not that hard, but yeah. I haven't joined the live coders stream yet. I'd love an invite, but I'm not going to push it. If Jeff wants to invite me, then that'd be fantastic. If I need to kind of prove that the stream is going to carry on and broadcast regularly to a schedule, then if that's what he needs to find, then that's great. I'm not don't want to push that, but yeah, obviously that's the ultimate goal, is to join with that team and to be able to kind of publicise the channel through that. At the moment, what I'm doing is I do a pop-up in other people's streams, both as SMB and as Codebase Alpha, just to get the Codebase Alpha name out there. He might not know there's a stream. No, he might not. He might not know it's me, I suppose. The other thing is that I do. He will know me as SMB because I'm a 10 or 11 month subscriber to his channel, but he may not know that Codebase Alpha and SMB are the same person. I do kind of pop up sometimes, as I say, as both of me in a chat, and have a bit of fun that way. But the only reason I do that is actually I've got some subscriptions to other streamers as Codebase Alpha. I think Rambling Geek is one. I think it was Robert Tables who very kindly gifted me a subscription to Rambling Geek. So that was one reason why I will go in as a Codebase Alpha on that. And I think I did masquerade as both myself and SNB in Dev Chatters last stream. So just a bit of fun really, but it was just trying to get the brand out there. I'm also on Twitter, so follow me at Codebase Alpha on Twitter to get any information about streams, also any rocket stuff if you're into rockets like I am. And also I do like to kind of try and publicise other streams as well if I can. Particularly I do enjoy Gareth Hubble's stream with his F# and Rust, and I had quite a lot of fun on Rambling Geek's stream. First time I'd caught that, so it was quite fun. So I do like to kind of push those streams out as well. I haven't got many followers on Twitter yet. I've got 17 followers, but I was quite pleased to get 10, to be honest with you. So I've only been on Twitter for a matter of weeks, and I'm not that experienced using it. So I do try to tweet a couple of interesting things out, and not always kind of self-promotion stuff. But yeah, okay. So what I thought we'd do initially is just have a bit of a tidy up of this intent. Now it's called Dev Streams. It's not really what I want it to be called in the end. I think I'm probably going to have to. I don't know if I can change the name of it. Maybe I can. Yes, I can. So I'll change the name. It's going to be. So it's like we're asking. It's a when intent, isn't it? So when next intent. So we'll call it when next intent. Save that model, and then we'll just go pop across to our code and just update the code with that. So here we have when we receive I'll just talk you through the code. When we receive a request here, we basically we pull out the type of the request, so it's a launch request or an intent request. If it's a launch request, we simply say welcome to the DevStream skill, and then we return that text. And then if we are an intent, which is these custom interactions basically, then we go off to the intent request handler, and in the intent request handler we're actually going to process based upon the name of the intent, and we've just updated the name of that intent to when next intent. So I'll just update this, save that, and I guess we better just check that that still works. Rambling Geek, hi, I've just been waxing lyrical over your stream, which I greatly enjoyed. So yeah, I have a webcam. Yes, I don't know if it's an advantage or not. This is a brand new piece of kit. It's a Razer Kaio webcam with a built-in light ring, which I'm using in order to try and kind of cut down on the need for lighting. But I don't know, because I'm broadcasting in the evening. It's dark everywhere, so I've got the main light on and a couple of lamps going, so hopefully that the picture's reasonably clear. But yeah, okay, so let's publish our web app up to Azure. Publish that. Okay, and while that's publishing, we can go over to our Alexa skill, and we can build the model with the new intent name. Okay, so that's built. So we haven't got to worry about the fact this says service is unavailable. It's just that there's nothing listening at this this route here. So we can just get rid of that. Okay, and we've got a successful build, so we should now be able to ask Alexa. So I'll just bring the Alexa device up here. So hopefully you'll be able to hear it respond. Alexa, ask live coding, when is Rambling Geek streaming next? So we didn't pick that up. Alexa, ask live coding, when is Rambling Geek streaming next?
You have asked about Rambling and their schedule.
There we go. So it's actually picked that up. So now we can add another intent. So we'll add another one. We'll call this who is live intent. And we're going to create a custom intent again. And so so what might someone ask? So they might say, ask live coding who is live now. That's one thing they might say. They might say who is streaming now. I guess they might say who is live right now. So we haven't got to think of all of the possibilities, but if we put a few in, it'll have better chance of actually picking them up. And we'll just for fun, we'll put who is live. Who is live right now. So we'll think of some alternatives to that at some point. So let's save that model and let's build that model. Okay, while that's building, we'll pop back across here and we'll add another switch statement here. So actually we need to rename this, don't we? So let's refactor, let's rename this to let's change it to when next. When next response handler. Hopefully that's updated that. Yep. And we'll add another case here for our, I've already forgotten what I called it. So let's pop back across to Alexa, and it is here. I must be careful saying actually that word because it activates the echo. It's who is live intent. Let's just grab that piece of text and pop it over here. And we want who is live response handler. And this is the response handler. We can simply grab this text and copy it. We'll call this the who is live response handler. We don't need there's no channels involved, no slots, so this is purely informational. And here we'll say Codebase is streaming now. I don't know about the exclamation point. We'll see what it makes of that. Actually, no, let's not push our luck on that one. So the idea is that what we're going to be able to do is in these response handlers is to actually query the database that that DevChetter has for the DevStreams project. So in this case, it's simply a matter of finding out who is streaming now. So there'll be some interactions with Twitch to find out who is streaming, and it might come back with a list of people who are streaming right now. With this one, this when next response, it's going to be a bit more difficult because at the moment we're simply saying you have asked about the channel back, and we're just reading what they said back to us. So if they said noopcat, it would say noopcat, but it more likely say newcat actually, because it probably doesn't understand noopcat. No-opcat is a better chance of doing it. And the idea what we'll do is we'll remove any spaces or any full stops from the channel that comes back, and we'll probably sound exit and try and do a sound X match against the channel name in the database that exists in the DevStreams project. So that'll be for a little bit later when we start to build the PR. So what I want to do is get all the basics working, build our library, our exalib, so we can create a new get package and publish that up. Sorry, I don't quite get the question, Rambling Geek. Anyway, what I was saying is that what we want to do is to create a PR to the DevStreams project and do that on air, so that people can see how to raise a PR and how then you interact with the streamer to have that PR kind of processed. Come back with they'll obviously come back with code changes they want, structural changes, whatever, and to work through that process actually on air, so that it kind of demystifies a bit of the process of contributing to open source. So I think everyone would say that one of the great things we can do as developers to give back to community is to actually contribute to open source projects, and also it helps us and our kind of skills, and also kind of gets your name out there. So it's a good thing, and a lot of people don't attempt to do it because they're a bit kind of nervous about the process, and that's why using a friendly streamer is a great idea. Yes, I could change my invocation for Alexa. That's right, so it doesn't light up every time I say that word, but we'll have to live with it. I'm sure it'll be okay. I often wonder what happens if people have children with that name in the household. I guess they change it, don't they, to something else. Okay, so we've got our who is live response handler in there. So let's build that, and then we'll publish it. But right click and publish. Write that up to Amazon, not to Amazon, to Azure. And in the meantime, we'll go back over here, and I can't remember if we built the model, so we'll build it again just in case. There we go, building. And looks like our deployment is nearly happening. So what I can show you here is that the reason it goes there is because we're we're not at an endpoint where there is anything listening. So I can say, for example, I can show you the Swagger endpoint that we've got. If you haven't seen Swagger, it's fantastic. So these value endpoints here we can ignore. These what comes with when you're out of the box when you create a web API using .NET Core. It will create this value controller, and that's what we're using really as just as a test, because it's not an Alexa route. It's API values. It's not API Alexa, that's going to be important a bit later on this evening when we look at creating some custom middleware for .NET Core, because we want the custom middleware only to fire when we're going down the API Alexa dev streams endpoint, and not when we're going the API values endpoint. So there's that part of it. So we've got our models here. As you can see, this is the kind of the JSON models which we've created. If we go to our post method here, you can see this is the request that that we will be receiving into our endpoint, and the responses are down here. So we've only got a 200 response, and this is the response that's coming back. So it contains speech or card, which is textual or graphical information, which we can display back on certain types of Alexa-enabled devices. I think there's I keep calling it the Echo Spot, but I don't think it's called the Spot. There's another name, I can't remember what it is. But also on your computer or on your tablet or phone, if you've got the Alexa app on there, you can actually get graphics and text come up as well. And there's also these things about reprompts where we start getting into a bit of a dialogue, so that if it doesn't understand what you said, you can actually get it to the Alexa software can then start to prompt users to fill in blank slots that the software didn't manage to actually work out what it's supposed to be. But we'll get into that later. The interaction design piece I want to leave pretty much to the end, because that's where the magic is, and that's where I'm a developer. I'm not a voice UI expert, so we'll have to learn together about what. It's not the Echo Dot Rambling Geek. The Echo Dot's a tiny little thing. It's about a quarter the size of a full Echo. It begins with an S, and I'm not quite sure what it is. I'm just going to have a drink of wine. So cheers, everybody. Okay, so. We should be able to try this out now. So we can ask who is live now, can't we? Let's get the echo here. Alexa, ask live coding who is live right now. Thinking about it. I don't think we're going to get a response. Alexa, ask live coding who is live now.
Codebase Alpha is streaming now.
There we go. So it did pick it up. So I've noticed it does take a little while sometimes, and I think it's probably their machine learning algorithms maybe have to kind of work on a pattern. The more you actually use the skill, the more accurate and the more responsive it seems to be, especially when you've got your sample utterances in there. So let's try another variant. Alexa, ask live coding who is streaming now. There's quite a long delay now, isn't there? Don't think it's going to get that one. Alexa, ask live coding who is streaming now.
Codebase Alpha is streaming now.
So it's interesting that in both cases, it was the second time it got it. Maybe I was enunciating the words a bit better. And the problem with the word streaming is that it sounds very close to dreaming. And we have noticed with previous experiments, when probably in the first or second of the skill shows that we did, that it does pick up streaming as dreaming, and which is why I'm saying the invocation for the skill is live coding. That seems a lot more reliable than dev streams, which it doesn't really often get dev, and it certainly doesn't get streams. That definitely comes back as dreams a lot of the cases. Now I've got the skill set up for both US and UK English, and we're currently running the test system under UK English. I did have a few problems when it was set to US because I don't have a US accent, so it had a few issues with that. So we'll have to get some of our friends in the US to help us out testing with the US English interface, but hopefully that'll be fairly easy. So what I'd want to do next really is to look at some basic security that we're going to need to. Who's live on Twitch? That's a good one. We can put that in, can't we? Let's do that while we think about it. Who's live on Twitch? So should we put who's live on Twitch and who is live and see what it makes of the contraction? Now I think their machine learning software should understand contractions, but we'll find out. We'll put now after that and just have we got some variants. Let's save that model and rebuild it. Now we have to kind of save and rebuild each time. So this model we're building, all we're doing is actually creating a JSON construct. And what we'll do when we get it sufficiently complex and we've got some functionality in there which we like, we'll actually save that that JSON back into our project. So we've always got a copy of it. We can kind of you can edit it manually, you know, just as piece of JSON text. But obviously you get the advantage here of being able to build the model and also to do this utterance profiling, which we've looked at a couple of times in a couple of streams. But if anyone's interested, we can look at that again. Okay, so let's try. I think we built. Looks like that's a recent build. So let's try. Who's live on Twitch? Right? So here's the echo. Alexa, ask live coding. Who's live on Twitch? So once again, it's thinking about it. I don't think it's going to come up with an answer. Alexa, ask live coding. Who's live on Twitch?
Codebase Alpha is streaming now.
So it does seem to be that you have to say a couple of times, and maybe it's got some kind of learning mechanism which is going on and analysing that. The more samples it gets, the better it's able to match. So probably off stream I should probably spend half an hour just going through all the phrases over and over and over again so it learns them. I assume that's what's going on. Okay, so let's have a look at a couple of things to do with security first. Now, if we go back to our code, there's a comment right at the start of the code here, which is basically ensure that the request is meant for us. So one of the requirements of certification for Alexa skills at Amazon, if you want to actually put them live and make them downloadable by Echo users, is that you have to make sure that requests originating from other skills cannot be interpreted or cannot be used by your endpoint. So someone can't maliciously point their front end skill at your device. Now, a lot of the time, it's not going to, it's not going to make any sense if a request hit it. It's just going to keep coming back saying, sorry, I can't do that or whatever. But it is part of the requirement. So if we're going to have a look over at certification, let's see what it says over at certification. So hopefully it's going to give us. It's got quite a few things here which we've got to do. Now these are icons and things. We won't worry too much about fixing all these compliance things just yet. Yeah, and there's also instructions which need to go in and privacy and compliance which we need to do. What we actually want, we've got quite a few things to actually do under certification. But what I want to concentrate more on is the actual basic security requirements which Amazon impose. So let's go and have a look at that. So it's Alexa certification.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Yep, so that's I don't know if you heard Alexa chimed in there. Okay, certification requirements, custom skills. We could try that one. Okay. So security requirements. So there's policy guidelines. We need to read those, and we'll do that. Off stream, I'll check what those are, and we've got that list of to-dos on the certification tab, which we'll need to work our way through. But it's not really what I'm interested in doing. This is a live coding stream. Let's do some coding rather than filling in forms. Security requirements. Let's see what that says. Okay, security testing for Alexa skill. So we're not hosting a Lambda function on AWS. We've got our own web service endpoint. Okay, so they're talking about we need to have a valid trusted certificate. So that we can't use self-signed certificates, and we need to verify the request was sent by Alexa. So this is what I was really interested in looking at initially. So anything else? Privacy requirements. Okay, so let's have a look at what it says under verifying the request is intended for your service, handling requests sent by Alexa. Okay. So verify the request intended for you. Before your web service or Lambda function accepts a request, you should verify the request is actually intended for your service. Protect your endpoint against someone else discovering your address, configuring their own skill, and using that configuration to send requests. So we need to validate that the skill includes an application ID, and the application ID is the same one that we created. Okay, so before the stream, what I did was I got our application ID from the Alexa skill kit. So I went over and looked at my skill here, and I got the application ID from there. And I plugged the line out from the Echo. Yeah, I could try that. I really should have kind of thought about it a bit more. But well, yeah, well, you can't fully hear it. Okay. Well, I was afraid of that. Did you get anything it said? Did you recognise it did respond, Rambling Geek? I have to hold it closer to the microphone if you're for this stream, and then we'll figure something else out. The reason why I brought the Echo device here is that when we get to some of the later testing, you can't use the test client that comes with the Alexa skill kit because it's not smart enough to do dialogues, and we all want to have some to and fro. So, for example, where I'm thinking of a dialogue, if you say when is Noopcat streaming next, and it can't make a match of Noopcat against the DevStreams database, what we might want it to do is to respond back to the person and say, try spelling it. It was fine. Okay. Yeah, I'll work on the finer points of connecting all this electronic stuff. At the moment, I was more worried about getting the webcam working. So yeah, we'll try and kind of figure out a better way of getting this Alexa response to be audible to you. What was I saying? I've forgotten. Doesn't matter. Okay, so what I did off stream was I actually grabbed the application ID for our skill, our DevStream skill, and I popped it up into Azure Key Vault. So I'll just show you the process for that in case you haven't tried that yourself. What can we find? Azure Key Vault. Spotlight ASP.NET Core. No, that's not what we want. Have I got it saved away? I might have actually saved it in a. I found an article Where is it? Obviously I didn't save it. Oh, there we are, tutorial. Okay, so using Azure Key Vault with an Azure Web App. So I don't know how many of you have used Key Vault. This is the first time I've used it, so I had to learn a little bit about it. So the basic features this is we need to store our application ID securely, and we need to access it, but access it in such a way that we don't expose any secret information in the act of trying to get something out of the Key Vault. That's all taken care of for us. All the information we're going to put into our software is not secret, and basically we're going to use Azure AD to actually authenticate automatically, really, in the background. And I'll show you what we did there. So I was asking about spelling. That's right. So I was going to say that if for any reason someone said noopcat and we didn't understand, we couldn't find a match in the database, we might say to someone, "Can you spell it?" And they might say Noopkat. That'll come through in our slot as long as we make sure we've got sufficient words in the slot. It'll come through as N dot O dot, etc. And we'll get rid of the dots, get rid of the spaces, concatenate together, and then sound exit, and we should then be able to match. The sound X will remove any vowels, and it should take care of the ambiguity between a C and a K, for example, and we should be able to find it. So that's the plan anyway. I haven't tested any of that yet. That's all kind of just when we're planning how it's going to work when we merge it into the DevStream system. So what we'll probably do is build some basic a bit of basic database and just test it out before we actually try that with the DevChatter system. So Coded Bird just uses Key Vault before we look at it. So yeah, it's pretty good. Build stuff has been a pain, yeah. I've still got a lot to learn about using the build pipelines in Azure. It's going to be coming through pretty quickly actually, because we're going to be using it at work. But I want to kind of do a lot of the practice and the familiarization of that here. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to set up an Azure pipeline to build and publish our NuGet package, our Alexa skill NuGet package up to NuGet. So that's one of the plans. Then we can use it going forward in the DevStreams project. Okay, so let's just go through here. So the thing you need to download if you're going to work with Azure Key Vault, you can obviously use the UI, but you can also use the command line. So there's actually the Azure CLI package which you can download. So I did that. I downloaded the Azure CLI. You type in AZ login, and then it'll ask you to authenticate. And then I already had a resource group in the location which was in Western Europe. You've had good experiences with Coded Bird with Azure pipelines. Yeah, I believe they're quite clever. I think I did watch a stream on Fritz and Friends where Jeff Fritz struggled mightily actually getting it to all kind of work, but it was only because I think it was a bit unclear about what goes in various fields. I think once you get it set up, it's fine. So I think there's some documentation improvements required, but yeah, I'm hoping it's going to be relatively straightforward to use hundreds of applications. Yeah. So if you're around on stream when we actually try that, set that Azure pipeline up, it'll be a great asset. You can advise me about what to do. Okay, so then we created a Key Vault. So I created it using this command here. Then I added the secret. So I added our application ID to the Key Vault, and then what we need to do is actually, this goes through creating an app, but obviously we've already got one. and it's got a load of kind of code here, which I think we want to try and just cut and paste into our application and see what happens. Okay, so one thing I need to do is actually go and find the secret information which I stored away. So if you just go off to a different screen and try and locate what I did with that. I should have done this bit off stream before we started, but there we go. So it's opened on the wrong stream, isn't that typical? Hopefully, I can change all those keys anyway. Okay, so yeah, typical that. Should have gone to a be right back screen really. Never mind. There's nothing here which is production worthy, so I can easily change the secrets. Okay, so we've got that information. So let's have a look at this code. So this is what's going to reach into the key vault and pull out our secret. So this line here is going to get the secret. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll just grab all of this. We'll grab that bit, and I think for now we're going to put this in our startup class over here. Right. Let's try it here. Okay. So this is going to be our configuration. And we'll call it Gil ID. Let's just initialize it as an empty string for now. I like using var. Okay, so we're going to need some to bring in some packages here. So let's go and see if it helps us which packages we need. So we need these. We need app authentication and key vault. Okay, let's go look at that. So we'll bring this NuGet package into our web API. Where are you? There we are. Okay, there we are. We'll install that. So how's everyone this evening? Have we got people mainly from the UK in the chat, bulk of it. Is anyone in chat who hasn't posted? If you'd like to say hello, just so I know who's out there. All the code that we do is up on GitHub, and this all the code we write this evening will go up on GitHub at the end of the stream. So here's my GitHub address. So pop over there and have a look at the bot. And the bot's not running tonight, only because I forgot to run it. And there doesn't seem much point in it. Well, I might run it towards the end. German, wonderful. Good to see you. So we've got mostly Europeans, which is probably right. I don't know if we've got anyone from the US or Canada in the stream. The Twitch archives of the stream's previous episodes are starting to disappear now. We only get 14 days, so you need to know that all previous episodes are on my YouTube channel, which you can find there. So do pop over to YouTube and have a look. Maybe you'd like to subscribe. Although there's only me on there at the moment. So there are 6 episodes up there. So tomorrow this episode will also be posted, and I'll make sure that they're always archived up there as they start to disappear from Twitch. Okay, so we need another package now. That package was Key Vault, Azure Key Vault. So let's grab that and load that in as well. Okay. So if you haven't ever visited Rambling Geeks stream, I'll just give him a quick shout out. And my typing on stream is notorious, so hopefully that's correct. So that's Rambling Geeks stream. I'm not quite sure what his schedule is. I could go check, but yeah, it's a really fun stream, much more relaxed than mine. Mine's a bit more kind of it's a bit more intense. At least it feels like that for me. But yeah, it was such a nice atmosphere with Rambling Geeks crowd. So do go and check that out. Also, if you like different programming languages, then check out Gareth Hubble for his F# stream. He currently is working on a Stream Deck project in F#. So that's Gareth Hubble. So that'll be his stream. So yeah, every Friday, Rambling Geek. I'll make sure I'll check in next Friday. Yeah, do you find that's going once? Oh, CMJ. I think I saw you on Rambling Geeks stream as well. Welcome, a warm welcome. Are you in the UK as well? Well, in Europe at least. Okay, so we've got our packages in. Let's see what we do next. Okay, so we need to do, there's some usings we need. So let's see if we can pick up our usings. Yeah. This one here. And the keyboard client. We got that. Keyboard client. So we don't want to await it. I don't think we do anyway. We might have to move it out. Is there a get secret that isn't async for the moment? We might have to just circumvent. There we go. Okay. Right. So for that, and yes, we want to set our configuration skill ID here rather than message. So secret bundle. Just an exception, we need to bring that in. We won't bother with that at the moment. We'll sort that out at some point. And there's a status code. Okay, we'll look at what we're doing here in this instance here a bit later on. We won't worry about it too much. Okay, and there was a couple of private methods that we needed to bring over from that code snippet, wasn't there? So these. So this is some kind of retry mechanism that they've coded. We'll just use it as is and check it out later. Okay. So it's secret.value. So looks like the secret is a string. What is it? It's a configured. Oh, I see. So configure await false. Oh, I'm not familiar with .configured await false. Anyone any ideas about that? Can I just say results? Obviously not. My knowledge of async await is failing me here, so we can't have that. Oh no, secret. So secret is a can it convert system? So it's a task, is it? Can it convert system runtime compile services configured tasks available to a string? Need to make my method async. Yeah. I don't know if we can reconfigure services. Let's try it. And then await this. And then dot value it. Okay, we'll give it a go, see what happens. I think that we need to do the same here. Okay. So what I need to do is put in the URL of our app secret here. So this is the URL of our Azure Key Vault. And I've got it here. And it's got the ID of our secret on there. So this is able to be viewed on stream. It's not secret. You can't get into the Key Vault unless you're authenticated. So it should be okay to show that. Okay, so this should create our this should set up our skill ID. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pop this off screen and I'm going to run it locally and just put a breakpoint on that var secret when it's going to get the secret and see what happens. See if it comes back with something. So do apologise, it's off screen, you can't see it, but I don't want to actually show it. Okay, so it's fallen over, unfortunately. Okay, what's happened is it's fallen over here with an invalid operation. Unable to find the required service. Please add all required services calling add MVC inside the. So, okay, so what's happening? So what we'll do, I think, is we'll just move this out of here, and perhaps we'll pop it into the configure part here and see what happens then. So I'll just move it. Oops, we need to do the same with the old. This was void before, and we'll try making this async task. I'm not sure if that's going to work or not, but let's pop this back over off screen. I'll pop a breakpoint in again and we'll try it again. We got an error. So yeah, we can't do what we're trying to do basically. Okay. So We can't do that. We can't make that. That's got to be void. We're running still. Oh, thank you very much, Rambling Geek. Yeah, we need to cheer when we actually get something working. I think a glug of wine is required here. Thank you for the bits. Yeah, we can't run it as the async. Okay, so we need to make this into a we need to have this to be synchronous. Configure await. Maybe if we lose the configure await, we can do something. Let's try that. Oops. Can we get the result? Oops. Okay, that looks relatively happy. So let's do the same down here. So we'll change that into dot result. Let's just build it, make sure it doesn't throw up anywhere. Okay, I'm going to pop this off screen again and see the breakpoints here so I can just see if it does bring back a secret. Obviously, this is the first time we've tried this, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Does it bring back my secret or not? Well, it's thinking about something. If this doesn't work, I'm going to have to go. Oh, here we are. We just hit the. Oh, there we go. Look at that. We've got a secret back by the look of it, and that is correct. So it's come back with a correct value. So I'll just continue, and we should hit our. We've hit value 1, value 2. That seems fine. I'm just going to bring this back on screen now. I'll just close that down. So that actually worked. So the bits weren't premature, Rambling Geek. We actually got it working. Okay. So now we have our secret in our configuration. And what we can do is then in our Alexa controller, we need to pass that out across. So we're going to need to have a. We need to stop it running first. We're going to need to have a constructor here. So I have a public Alexa controller. And we want to take in. We'll take eye configuration in. Sure it's called eye configuration. Yeah, there it is. Let's pull that across. Let's just fix up that. So we need that using in. And we're going to need to have. Now, I'm not going to use kind of fancy keys. I'm just going to do the typing. So the idea of this stream, I know that most of you are experienced devs, but the idea of the stream is it's a beginner-friendly stream. We're not going to kind of hide behind lots of keyboard shortcuts, and we're not going to hide behind ReSharper. We're going to do a lot of the typing ourselves. So it takes a little longer, which is why we spent quite a lot of time actually typing in all of the JSON. The classes which get converted from JSON and to JSON. I don't make any apologies for it really. I think you can learn a lot by actually doing it manually, because this is kind of grunge work that people who build libraries like this have to do, and then we benefit from using their library, and the work that they did kind of is invisible to us. It all just magically appears for us. So we're building everything from scratch, at least on the initial streams. One of the future streams I want to do in a few weeks' time will be to look at our bot, and obviously the bot is a built piece of software, but it was built from scratch as well. And I'll go through the bot and we'll look at adding some commands. There's actually a text adventure built into the bot based upon a classic text adventure called Adventure or Colossal Caves, which I used to play on a mainframe at university many years ago. So that's kind of a reasonable way into development. It's got a lot of caves that need to be kind of fleshed out, and a lot of new features that need to be added. Scoring, for example, isn't in there, and some things like actually dying isn't in there. So, but you can pick up items and look around and stuff like that. So I'll give an example of that, and we'll maybe get someone to play it on stream. It actually was originally designed. My bot is actually dual purpose. It was originally designed for Slack, but I converted it over to use Twitch, so it's actually got libraries to connect to both Twitch and to Slack. And I think we might always also do a Discord version, so we can connect into Discord, Slack, and Twitch, and maybe other things in the future. But that's to come. So let's store our configuration away. There we go. Okay, and this is where we need to do this comparison. So we need to know if our application ID, which has come through in the request. If you go and have a look at the request, that's over in our library, the request here. We got an Alexa request, and inside there is a session. Okay, so we got session, and the session has an application, and the application has application ID. So this is the thing that every time something comes in from our skill, it's going to populate that application ID, and we're going to compare it to the one we just pulled out of Azure. Okay. So let's actually do that. So basically, we want to say that if the Alexa request, and we said session application ID. So let's use the equals method. So if it doesn't equal our config, I've already forgotten. I think it was called skill ID, wasn't it? So if it's not equal to our skill ID, then what we want to do is we want to return a bad request, don't we? Okay, so we're going to return a bad request. You need to know about bad request. Cannot convert. Okay. All right. What's the best way to? Okay, we could throw, couldn't we? Yeah, we'll try throwing. See what happens. We'll throw a new HTTP response. Now, it might not work. This may not work, but we'll give it a go. Oops. So, yeah. Okay. I just want to return a bad request, really. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to label up what this can do. Oh, actually, I've got something wrong here, haven't I? What's wrong with it? Come on. Oh, I've got a quotation mark missing. So can we return bad request? That's what I want to do. I want to return a bad request. So that'll be an action. This should then be an action. iAction response, wouldn't it? Okay, so should we try taking a lesson from our very first stream, which was about creating a secure web API using .NET Core. So let's go and bring up the code from that. So anyone who says they don't go back and look at previous solutions and see how they solved a problem as a developer is lying. So I've solved a problem once, then I usually go back and have a look at how we solved it last time. So this is our launch command. Oh, okay, this is what we were doing. So we returned an action result. So let's do the same. I'll just pop that across the side there. Whoops, I can't do that. Okay, bring it over here then. So rather than returning Alexa response, we'll return an action result of Alexa response. So then we can return our bad request. But what we need to do is decorate this up, this controller action up here, in a similar way where we did with the secure API. So so these markers here are all to do with Swagger, really. So they're helping us define what the Swagger side of things looks like. So let's do that. So we say it's going to return a type of Alexa response. And 400 is a bad request. So we'll say it can return a bad request. And then if we go back, we can, on our web API, we can see we also decorated the control that produces application JSON. So we can do the same thing, I think, here. So we can say that, I minimized the wrong one. We can say that our controller is going to produce application JSON, just so that it's obvious what it does. Okay, so that's looking a lot better. Let's just give that a run and see what happens. Okay, so we're going to have to publish this up to Azure to try it out, which means that it's more difficult for us to actually debug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in a system.diagnostics .trace. So I say bad request application ID did not match. We've got our web app has got logging on, so we should be able to find that in the logs if there's a problem. So what's it saying here? System diagnostics trace. I thought that was the right thing. Let's quickly check that up. System diagnostics trace. There we go. So just trace. Looks okay, doesn't it? System doesn't trace. Oh, what's wrong? Why are we getting complaints in our little system here? System diagnostics trace. Is it trace right? Right line? And do we need to flush that, do you think? We might as well see if that's what it requires, just in case it does. Can't type trace.flush. Yeah, we'll just flush it. So hopefully, if we do go into problems, we should see that it's somewhere in our logs. Okay, so let's give it a run. What I'm going to do is we'll just try it first. We'll right click publish, and if it doesn't work, then I'll stick a breakpoint on here and just move off. We should be able to step it through, and if I need to look at what the values are, I'll move it off screen. So let's right click publish on this again. This is where we really hope it works. Yeah, so Rambling Geek, always if you solved a problem once, just going back and looking at the code, it works. Pick it off. The thing to do is to understand why. Don't just cut and paste code in. You understand, why you're doing it and what it's doing. So we cut and paste that code out of Azure there for the Azure Key Vault thing. But previously I'd had to look at it and try to understand exactly what it's doing. In fact, it's quite simple. It's just simply reaching in to the Key Vault and grabbing the information. But it's got this kind of retry and exponential kind of back off thing going on. In case there's any kind of errors, it tries again and again, but it increases the length of time between the retries. So it's not try every second. It's every second, then every 2 seconds, every 4 seconds, every 8 seconds. That kind of idea. So it's certainly not cheating. Just like going on to the Googling stuff, Stack Overflowing stuff, it's not cheating. Stack Overflow can be a bit hit and miss, but Google things all the time. It's simply part of. It's one of the things in your armory, and it's certainly a lot better and a lot easier than having to wade through oceans of documentation, which we have to do in the old days. So you have to go through and look at all the manuals and wade through that, and then it wouldn't be in the manuals, and they wouldn't have indexes in the manuals anyway. And it's just like shockingly bad. Okay, so let's try now with our Alexa device. I've just said the word again and it's come to life, but we'll try again. Let's bring him in. So we'll wait till it switches off. Alexa, stop. Stop. Alexa. Alexa.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding right now.
Yeah, I know.
Please try a little later.
Alexa, ask live coding. Who's streaming now?
Codebase Alpha is streaming now.
Oh, so there we go. It worked. So it picked up our application ID and it verified it. It was the same in the request that came through in the session on the request, the same that we got through. Your Alexa went off. Yeah, when we were doing this the other day, I've got had the Echo in the kitchen, and my wife's Kindle Fire was about 10 feet away from me, and they both were going off, and it was a cacophony of things. So it's a good job you probably couldn't have heard that on the on stream. Okay, so we've got the basic security we wanted working. So we go back here. So actually, we've also improved our code by having the action result, which is a lot nicer than we were doing before. So we're kind of falling much more now into the .NET Core way of doing web APIs. We're not just returning this action result of type Alexa response, and that gives us the ability to feed back these bad requests as well. So I think we've improved things by doing that, and we've got to have our first piece of security in there now. So the next thing I wanted to look at was to look at middleware. So if we go to the startup class, here in the we can remove that now. We'll probably pull all this out into a method so it doesn't clutter up our startup class too much. But we also need to handle this exception, but we'll worry about that a bit later on. If you don't know much about .NET Core, ASP.NET Core has broken the process of processing a request and returning a response into individual chunks which are handled by middleware, and you can bring the middleware in or omit it. And this is in contrast, say, to ASP.NET MVC, where the pipeline of processing on your requests was all kind of entangled with IIS, and you didn't really have much control of it, other than adding modules into the IIS pipeline. But here it's completely transparent, so you can see we start off, once we've got past our key vault access, we start off with if the environment is development, then we're going to add this piece of middleware in. We're going to use developer exception page, and what that's doing there is basically if there's an error, then as the error comes back up the pipeline, so the request comes in, comes down through the pipeline, hits the use MVC, gets processed and comes back. If that's an error, an exception, then if it's a development environment, this piece of middleware will be in place, and it will actually display us an exception page. And we've seen that already when something wasn't working just there, when with the async problems and all that, we saw we had an exception page. Obviously, if we're in a live situation, the last thing we want to do is expose any kind of information about failures to the outside world. Not only does it kind of reduce the trust of users, it's vital information to hackers. So you never ever expose any information about why things went wrong. You might say something went wrong, which is the classic kind of error message in websites, isn't it? Something went wrong, and there might be some kind of code which is meaningless outside of an organization, but that's what this is for. So this actually, on the way back, it will display the developer exception page if we're in the development environment. If we're not, it won't. Then we've got another piece of middleware, which is use HTTP redirection. So as the request is coming in, we come down, we pass this use developer exception page, we hit this one, it's going to insert this into the middleware, into the pipeline, and it's basically going to say, okay, if this is a HTTP request, redirect it to HTTPS. So we're always working secure. Same here, we're injecting this into the pipeline, use Swagger. We're setting the Swagger UI, so if we go to a certain endpoint, we're going to see our Swagger UI, which we've seen already, and we can have a look again in a minute. And finally, we hit the use MVC. This is the big piece of middleware, of course, which is our model view controller. And then this will process the result, and then the response will come back, and it will work its way back up the pipeline in this direction. What we want to do is insert a piece of middleware into this process, probably here, just before use MVC, which is going to branch off if we are processing an Alexa request, but actually be ignored if we're not processing a request. So let's what we can do is actually add. So I think what we'll do is we'll add the middleware into the web app for now, and then a bit later on, probably another stream, looking at the way the time's going, we probably won't get to this far. is we'll actually pull that into that middleware component into our library, so that people don't have to worry about writing the middleware themselves, but we'll just give some instructions in the README for the library saying you need to put this command in and bring this piece of middleware out of the library, and it should just work. But obviously, pulling the middleware out of the context of the web API into a .NET Standard library may be a bit more difficult than it sounds. So we won't tackle that just yet. So what we're going to do is, in our web API, we're going to add a folder called middleware. Not middleware, middleware. Okay, and in here we're going to create a new class. We've got a new item, in fact. Let's see what we've got. So we're in ASP web. So we've got a middleware class here. So we'll use that. So we're going to call this, what should we call it? Alexa request validation. Stoolpenner, welcome, welcome indeed. Good to see you. Glad you made it. How are you? So we're going to call this Alexa request validation. Let's make sure we get our spelling right. Alexa as well. Alexa. There we go. Alexa request validation. That's correct. So that's going to create us a template for our validator. So this is the middleware section here. So the request delegate part, request validation, the invoke, and then how we use this is with this use middleware command here. But what we've done here for us, it's wrapped it up into an extension method. So actually, we're going to be given a use Alexa request validation as an extension, so we can do app builder dot use, just like the app dots we see elsewhere. You're stressed, Stoolpenner. Oh, just playing you played a game and played against your own group and a bug in the game, is that? Or you've been playing a game and you've also been trying to debug a bug. Okay, so we've got that now. Let's have a look at this. So this is so we do want this to be asynchronous. So we get a task coming back, but we want an asynchronous here. Okay. And rather than returning, we want to await that. Okay, so let's have a what this is basically doing is when a request comes in, it's going to invoke. It's going to call this invoke method. We're going to Mylon 000. Thank you very much for the follow. Very, very kind of you. Good to have you on board. So we're 58% away towards our target of 100 followers. So that's wonderful. Thank you very much. Stoolpenner's hosting. Welcome anyone who's watching the Stoolpenner stream. This is Codebase Alpha. Okay. So what I was saying is that we're going to invoke this method, and all we're doing at the moment is actually saying, okay, now go and invoke go and do the next thing in the pipeline. So we can put custom processing here before the await, and for when things are returning, we can actually put things after the await. But we're not interested in doing anything after the next. Thank you very much, Mylon. Mylon's not right, is it? Emelion. You'll have to tell me how to say that. Thank you very much for the kind words there. Yeah, Codebase Alpha. I wanted to call it Codebase, but that wasn't available. But Codebase Alpha actually sounds a lot better. Michael Lyons. Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that. Yeah, it's difficult sometimes with the names. Some people have Rambling Geek, easy one to cope with. Stoolpenner, easy to cope with, but when you have all those kind of abbreviations and some people writing this delete stuff, it's yeah, difficult for me to understand. But yeah, just if I am butchering your handle, then just let me know. Actually, are they called handles? That's from my CB radio days. That is. Rambling Geek hosting me. Thank you very much. Very kind. Okay, so where are we? Yes. Okay. So let's go. We need to do this validation work within our middleware here, and we need to do it only if we are navigating to the Alexa endpoint. I shouldn't say that word, should I? Because my Alexa device is kicking off again, but we'll ignore that for now. Okay. Right. So we need to go and have a look at our startup. So in here, we're going to want to have our logic, which is going to say only do something if we're on the Alexa on the Alexa endpoint.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding right now.
Yeah.
Please try a little later.
Alexa.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding right now. Please try a little later.
Alexa. No, it's going off. We'll leave that alone for the moment.
I'm having trouble understanding
Okay.
right now. Please try a little later.
So let's go and have a look on the web at how we do some optional middleware. So ASP.NET Core branching middleware. Okay. So I think it's going to be something along these lines here. Okay, so let's just grab this code. It's not going to be a map when though. I don't think it's going to be a use when. Yeah. Okay, let's pop that bit of code in here, and then we'll say use when rather than map when. Okay, so what we mean by use when is when this condition is matched, it's going to actually call our middleware. Well, it's going to come into this this section here and call our middleware. Obviously, we don't want to do that bit. So the pattern match is going to be API and then that word, and in here yeah, what's the best way of invoking the app builder? Use so let's go back into our middleware. So it's iApplication builder builder.use middleware. Okay. So can we get it as simply as use? Okay, we'll go back to our search and find out where we're going. Okay, so let's go have a look at this. Not about when conditional middleware based on request. There we go. Okay, use that when, use when. There we go. So we should just be able to invoke app builder, as I thought, but app builder, use Interesting. Why are we not getting access to that? Access request, validation extensions. Oh, we're probably not using it. Are we not got the? We haven't got the middleware being brought in. So let's access request validation. There we go. Victory. I think that deserves a drink. Tell you what I've forgotten as well. I haven't put my Relax Daily background music on. We've got 3 free tracks from Relax Daily, which I usually play as background music. I think the last time I forgot this as well. But it's been a real lifesaver. Relax Daily is very chilled out music, great for coding, great for debugging, and when you got frustrations going on. I had last week I had a bug, I think last Friday, working on a bug at work, and it took the entire day to actually track it down and fix it. Well, I didn't actually fix it in the end. I had to do a workaround, which was a good workaround. It wasn't a hack or anything like that, but some nice calm music playing in the background is works wonders when you're in that kind of situation. Okay, so we're now there. So let's see if that actually works. So let's pop a breakpoint in here, and our startup is saying that we're going to need to have the path is going to have to start with this here, this API, and then the ALEXA word before it will use our request validation middleware. Otherwise, it should ignore it. So let's run our application, our web API up. Now we run it locally, so we're going to hit our value controller here. So hopefully it's going to spring into life. If not, what we're going to have to do is put some breakpoints in, see what's going on. Yeah, so we've hit okay, there's a slash at the start, that's all that is. Okay, that's easy enough. So let's put no, we shouldn't need to put a break. We'll try it without the breakpoint being there, and if we do need to put a breakpoint in, we'll do that. Okay, so what we're hoping to happen now is it's going to go to our values controller and simply put out a value 1, value 2 onto the screen. If it's going to play nicely with us, we might have to put some breakpoints and see why it's a bit slow, isn't it? As if it is throwing an exception, but we'll see. No, we got there value 1, value 2. Okay, so as you can see, we haven't hit our breakpoint, which is sitting in our new middleware. So this is our optional middleware, and we're not hitting this breakpoint. That's because we haven't fulfilled the use when condition of the path starting with API and then the A word there. So let's now navigate to that. So our actual endpoint lives here. So we'll go there on our screen here. And this time we should, obviously we're not going to be able to actually process once we hit this endpoint. It's going to fail because we're not sending in an Alexa request. But we do now hit our breakpoint here. So we have got conditional middleware working, which is once again deserves a little bit of wine. So cheers all. Okay, so we can stop that now. So let's go and have a look at the documentation for the certification. I think I've just closed what I wanted to do. So Alexa skill certification. Let's try this page. We've been here before, but I think it's there's a bit of kind of going around in circles required. Security requirements. So we've already done the bit where we have to make sure that the correct application ID has been processed. So we know what that is. We've got that in our key vault. We're pulling that key vault, comparing that with what we've got in the request, and making sure they're the same. The second bit is this bit here, which is the web service must present a valid trusted certificate when connecting. When the connection is established, and must possess corresponding private key. Amazon only trusts certificates have been signed by an approved authority. Okay, so I think we probably need to have a look at what that actually means. So Alexa, certificate validation. Let's see what it has to say about that. We've got certification requirements which we've been to already. We've misspelled this. Let's try spelling it properly. Might help us get some hits. Certification issue. Build your first request. Skip certificate validation. Dev mode. Doesn't validate a certificate for income request. Doesn't look very useful. Validating Amazon request. Nope, that's not much use to us. It should be under documentation here, really. Related topics. Test and submit your skill for certification. Certification requirements for custom skills. Let's try that, shall we? We're going round in circles here, aren't we? Security requirements. Handling requests sent by Alexa. So we've done that bit. Okay, so look, there's actually something we've missed here. Okay, so as part of this kind of handling the requests, we need to handle this new this here. We haven't coped with this yet. This is the session ended request. So I think what I'd like to do is to actually code that up, because I think it's quite important that we are able to cope with that. Okay, so session ended request. So this is a type of intent, really. So let's go and have a look at some more information about session ended. Where can we find it? Session ended. Here we are. Session ended request. So this is when you say exit or quit. So I think part of the certification process, they're going to actually want to give these commands and make sure that if we open the live, if we say, let's bring Alexa in, open Alexa, open live coding. Come on, Alexa. Doesn't want to say anything. I'm sorry about this. It just seemed Alexa.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding right now. Please try a little later.
Alexa. I think
Sorry,
we might have to abandon Alexa for the moment.
Right now.
I think I've confused
Please
it.
try a little later.
Okay, let's actually do this session ending request though, because I think it's quite important that we cope with that. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so we need to have a request type of session ended request. So let's create a new class. Call it session ended request. Make it public. Now if we go to our request type converter, you can see that we're actually coping with launch requests and intent requests. We now need to cope with the session ended request. Oops, don't want to do that. So let's pop that in there. Session ended request, and we're going to return an object of that type. We're going to instantiate a session ended request. We should have that. If I misspelt something, let's have a look. Session ended request. Public class session ended request. Back. Session end request. I put that, didn't I? There we go. Now we need to do some. So we need to implement. So request body. So we need to implement this. So yeah, request body. So now our request converter should be happy. So this is what we're using when we're bringing in, when some JSON comes into us. We're using this custom JSON converter here, which we wrote. I think it was on the second of the streams to do with the skill. We wrote this custom converter, where basically we read the JSON in. We look at the type based upon this text, which is in the type. So we extract the type here. Then we call create here. I'm passing the type in, and then this basically sends us back an object of the correct type, and then we populate it using this. So we got a JSON serializer over here that's passed in with this override, and we use that serializer then to populate the subtype, which is coming back from create, and we read the JSON object and we populate the subtype from it. So that's quite a useful kind of feature, and you see that working over here, so that when we get the request, we're actually going to use our custom type converter here to so that we're getting something which is a subtype of request body, so it's a more concrete value or concrete type. Okay, what's going on in chat? So there's several things going on. So thank you, CMJ, if you're still around. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the good wishes. Let's encrypt. Yeah, we're going to do something. We're going to do some decryption and some encryption at some point, because what we're going to have to do is make sure that that the one of the things we're going to do in our middleware is actually extract the the certificate that's been used to do the encryption. So that should be fairly interesting. Okay, so we're getting away from what we're trying to do. We need to get this session ended request. So what we need to do is find out what actually comprises the session ended request. The documentation is a bit rambling, I find. So we've been in some documentation which told us all about the JSON structure, but it doesn't seem to be this particular page. So there's a page somewhere about JSON. Here we are, service interface request. So the JSON. What's this one here? Looks like it's more like we want to. We want the yeah, this one here. Come on, I want to go to that. Come on, what's wrong with you? Are you thinking about it? I think the Amazon website's getting tired. Come on. Well, that's interesting. We get nothing at all. Oh, here we go. It's building up now. So what do people think about this stream being in this 9 o'clock in the evening UK time slot? Is it kind of convenient for people? Do people like a relatively late night, well, for the UK and for Europe, a late night slot? I'm thinking this is going to be a permanent one. But what do you think? Okay for you, Rambling Geek? Good. And I think Wednesday is going to be my next slot, but that might be much earlier. It might be about 4 o'clock. Not quite sure yet. So that's what I'm going to shoot for this week, a 4 o'clock slot on a Wednesday. Some Wednesdays there will be a break around about 5 o'clock because I've got to do a release to our CRM system on a monthly basis, and that involves just kicking off a backup. So it takes about 5 minutes to get the backup off, but I'll need to do that about 5 o'clock. So so we haven't had a break in this stream, but in the Wednesday one, every now and again we're going to need to have that break. How about so Wednesday at 4 o'clock? What does that feel like for people? I know a lot of people are going to be at work still, but Wednesday evening is not that convenient for me. But I do want to have 2 streams a week if I can, maybe even 3, but at least 2. Once a week just feels a bit. It doesn't feel often enough to get through the kind of stuff I want to get through. Otherwise, these projects are going to take forever. So this is already taking a long time to do, but that's kind of the point really, is to go through it slowly and just to go through all the different stages. So session ended request. Here we are. Let's have a look. Yeah, be at work at 4. Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that I often do is have a stream on in the background, even if it's just turned down and lurking. Yeah, but it'd be great if people can join. But if not, I'll figure a better time. We'll see what kind of viewer figures we get at that time. Okay. So it looks like the session ended request has the same types that we already got on our request body. It's got a reason, and it's also got error, which is interesting. Okay, so let's so we've got a reason which is coming back as a string. So it's got some possible values. That's user initiated error or exceed maximum reprompts. Okay, so there's some fixed values it could come back as. Right, I think we can cope with that. So let's do this. So we'll have a public attribute, public property rather, public, and we'll create a new type called reason. Put our getter and setter in. We'll quickly create a reason. So we had a class called reason. just make that public for now. Come back to that in a moment. Well, we've let's tidy this up a bit. Session ended request. So we need to put our JSON properties on here. So JSON property, and this is going to be not that. So what it is in the JSON is reason, all lowercase. Grief, look at this typing, it's atrocious. Okay. There we go. Let's bring that Newton soft package in we're using. So yeah, so what we'd like to do is have an enum and then convert that enum. So we want to write something along the lines. We want another JSON converter, don't we? JSON converter. And we want to be able to say the type of the converter is enum converter. I think that's what we want to do. String enum converter. String enum converter. Does that sound right? Naming things, it's hard, isn't it? Naming things. Let's spell this right. Reason. Is that the thing we want to do? Or should we just take a string in? Do we care? Do we care? Tell you what, for now, let's just take a string in. We'll come back to it. Okay. And then back in our controller, we can now handle this session ended. So let's have a look at that. Okay, session ended. So case. And this is session ended request. So we need to go to session ended request handler. So we need to create that. Generate that method. Oh, thank you, Stillpenner. Thank you very much for the bitties. Very kind. Yes, so we can actually we can have bits now. We can have subscriptions, all kinds of things. If you do subscribe, then we have a custom badge for subscriptions. I'll just put the GitHub command into chat, and you can see we've got this little rocket badge, and also Alf the Alien is our hype emote, which those people who subscribe get. So obviously subscriptions are nice to have for me. It's not what we're not in here to make any money or anything like that, but it's just an option if people want to get these emotes. And I think this Alf hype emote is really good, so really enjoying using it. So if you do want to have access to that, then if you've got something like an Amazon Prime, something like that, you can subscribe for free. Other than that, don't worry about it. So we don't actually need to return anything, I don't believe, when the session ends. So we'll just return null for now, and we'll check that out. Oh, we've got a bit war going on, have we? Oh, you've equaled each other. Didn't quite work out. Rambling Geek, it didn't quite work out. Bit wars, love them. Seems to be a lot of bit wars this week, as there was one at in in Dev Chatter's stream on Saturday, which was quite fun. Okay, so we've got that in there. So joint first, a bit of fun, yeah. Let's not take it too seriously. So we'll come back with our reason. We'll work out how to do that that string enum conversion in another stream, because it's time's ticking on. It's coming up towards stop time. So what I would like to do is do something in the validation side. So let's see if we can find a bit more information about what we need to do in here for the certification, because that's a bit more interesting than just doing JSON stuff. Okay. Is it going now? I think we're going to start that again. Alexa certification value. So we looked at that one, how to submit and verify website on Alexa, certified skill builder. What can we put in? Signature. Signature validation. Verifying the signature on Alexa request. This is more like it. I think I've been here before in my research. Okay, so this is from the documentation. So let's just go to the documentation in another tab. But that Stack Overflow article looks useful to us. What do you have to do to allow subscriptions and biddies, Stillpenner? You have to be an affiliate. So you have to meet the requirements that Twitch lay out to be an affiliate. So in your if you go to Twitch TV, your channel, you'll find there's a tab on the dashboard. On the left hand side there's an achievements area, and if you go into there you'll see there's a whole bunch of achievements. It's all gamified, the whole process of building your channel up and getting viewers. One of those is called Build a Community, and if you achieve that then you get to assign people the VIP status. So I've got 10 VIP slots currently, and I've put 4 of them in there. So Zunjin, who was my very first follower, I made him a VIP. Gareth Hubbell's a VIP, and also Brendan over at Dev Chatter. So I've got 6 more slots to hand out VIP status to, and that gives you a few kind of privileges in chat. And then there's another kind of block of achievements called Path to Affiliate, and basically they take a 30-day period, and you have to stream on so many unique days for so many hours, have an average of 3 viewers over that 30-day period, and get 50 follows. And if you achieve all those things in a single 30-day period, then you'll be invited to become a Twitch affiliate. Yeah, and some hours, that's right. And then if you accept that, there's a whole onboarding process whereby you there's 2 tax interviews you have to complete. They're very simple. They're both identical, in fact. The actual questions in both of the interviews are identical and take about 5 or 10 minutes to fill in. And then you can submit, and then you can get your yes, it's you. Don't worry, Stillpenner. When you sort your SAP stuff out, and you announce that you're streaming your SAP development, I'll certainly be tuning in. So we'll try and build up and also we'll try and advertise your channel a bit more. What was I saying? Yeah, so you can get sub badges, and you can get emotes, and at that point you also get the ability to have bits, and the bits you see are money, so you need to complete the tax things for that. Same with the subs. Obviously there's income involved. I think Twitch take 50% of the sub fee, and the streamer gets 50%. At least us mere mortals get 50%. I think some of the and PewDiePie and those get an awful lot more than 50%. But yeah, so any emotes, any graphics that you put up there, you have to they have to vet them first. So you can submit your emotes and your badges, and then they take about a few days to look at it, make sure you're not breaking any copyrights, make sure that they're original artworks that you own the copyright to, basically, and then you're up and running. So yeah, it's quite easy. The 0.7 days per viewer, yeah, that's interesting. It's average, of course, isn't it? Okay, so where were we? Oh, we're on this now, aren't we? Okay, so let's go back to this. This actually seems to tell us a bit more. So it says that we need to verify the signature of the HTTP headers. We need to look at these two headers: signature cert chain URL and signature. Okay. So we need to make sure that these exist for a start, and then it's got to match the format used by Amazon. See the verified signature URL. And then we download the certificate chain, sign the message specified by that. Okay, the change provided at runtime. Okay, we can work with this. This is good. So I'm going to bookmark that. We'll put it in our programming folder. So next time we can come back to this and actually work. Okay, still better, no problem about lurking. I'll be finishing fairly shortly anyway, because it's now what, nearly 11:05. So we're going for 2 hours, just over 2 hours. So we'll be stopping soon. I just wanted to write a bit of code in our custom middleware, and then at least we can say we started the custom middleware. I've been trying to get the custom middleware started for the last couple of streams, really, because it's something that maybe people haven't seen before. Okay, so we want to make sure that those two headers, signature and what's it called, signature cert chain URL, something like that. Oh, there they are. Okay, we'll just copy those. So let's have a look. So we've got HTTP context that's being passed in our invoke method, so we can use that to actually get the headers. So we can have an if statement. So if the HTTP context dot request dot headers dot keys. So if that doesn't contain, that is, let's go back to our signature. Or it doesn't contain the other one. So if we're going to pull information out of these headers, we've got to make sure they actually exist before we try to extract things from them. So that was signature cert chain URL. Okay. So if those don't exist, then we set the response code, don't we? So on the context, we should have response. I can hear a cat meowing. Cat wants to come in. That should have a status code on it, I think. Status code. I think 400 is bad request. Bad request. Oops. Okay, so if the request comes in and we don't find those headers in there, then we're going to bomb out immediately. Otherwise, so let's so we need to actually then write out. We need to write the response then, don't we? So that's going to be HTTP context dot response, not right, oh, it's right async, okay, fair enough. And we can put some text on there so that if we hit this, it will display some text that we can read. Signature or that other thing missing, and we'll have to await that. And then we can return veteran return. Okay. So what's going to happen here is it's going to come in through our pipeline. It's going to go through all the steps above the pipeline, above where this use when is. If we're in the Alexa branch, it's going to branch off into this piece of middleware. And it's going to test whether we've got these two headers with these keys. If it hasn't, it's going to set up a response type 400. It's going to write the response to the HTTP context. Then it's going to return, so it's going to then go back up. So it's not going to go any further. It's never going to hit the next. So it's not going to pass our message on. It's going to immediately going to return the response back up the pipeline. So this is like we've added like a terminating piece of middleware here. So this is a terminating condition. We're not going to go any further into our pipeline. We'll never hit the MVC controllers or anything like that. So that seems like a neat way of doing it. So I guess we need to then, it says in the document that we need to look at we need to verify that the signature cert chain URL header value on the request matches the format used by Amazon. Okay. We better get this value for a start. Let's extract that value. So we want HTTP context dot request header. So we know it's in there now because we've got this far. So we should be able to get the value. So what have we got in here? What have we got? Oh, try get value. That sounds like what we want. And then we can do. So we want put our key value in, which is this. That's what we're trying to extract. And I guess this is going to be out for of sig cert chain URL. And sig cert. A bit long-winded, but there we are. A comma in there. Okay, so so if this is true, then we'll have found a value. Otherwise, so what we can do is do a bit of ternary logic here. We can say that the cert chain URL is equal to then we'll just get rid of sig out there. Found. So if we do find it, then it's going to be some value. It's going to be what do we call it? Sig cert chain URL. Now this will be yeah, you see this is a set of values, isn't it? So we want the first one of those. So we'll leave it, we'll stick it that for the moment. I think we need to see what actually that value comes back as. Otherwise we'll just set the string, this certificate chain URL to be the empty string. So what I could do with doing here is doing a system diagnostics. So we'll just put something in for now. Trace dot right line, wasn't it? We did, and we'll say, do string interpolation in there, and we'll say certificate chain URL is equal to that value. And what we'll do is just put some angle brackets around that, so that if it's actually empty, then we can see that it's empty. And then we need to process that, so we need to know if that's actually got a value in or not. So what we can say is if there's nothing in there, so if string dot is null or white space of that value, then we can do this kind of thing again. We can return we can report that the signature chain URL was null and send the bad request back. So we're kind of making our way through this process of looking at the certificate. So we've determined that there is a header with signature or signature cert chain URL in there. If there isn't, we bomb out, and then we extract the value of it, and if it's null or empty or white space, we're going to bomb out as well. I think that's a suitable position now to wrap up the stream. We've been going for nearly 2¼ hours, so it's a work day tomorrow, so I know we've all got to make our way to work and need to get to bed. So thank you very much for all of you who've watched. Thank you for those people who donated bits. That was fantastic. I'm really pleased with that. And I think we had a follow. Thank you very much for the follow. Good to see you. Do come back to the next stream. I'm planning on streaming on Wednesday. It will be an early stream, hopefully. But keep your eye on Twitter. Do follow me on Twitter. Keep your eye on the Discord. So if you've not visited our Discord, we do have a Discord server. It's here. Go and introduce yourself over there. I do post in the announcements channel when we're going live. I also post on Dev Chatter and Gareth Hubble's Discords. So please do come across Discord and introduce yourself. As I say, start chatting in there. There's information there about space stuff as well. Normally at this point I'd do a exclamation point launches command in our bot, but I haven't run the bot today. Just forgot about it. But the next significant launch coming up for us will be sometime in April when Falcon Heavy flies again, which will be fantastic. So if you look in the space channel on Discord, you'll see that there's a bit of a running commentary of the splashdown of the Crew Dragon that happened on Monday. So we do kind of geek out a bit in that channel. There's also a tabletop games channel, and there's a frustration and anger channel where you can go and vent your anger and frustration at various things that happen in life, and especially happen in coding. So I will bid you a fond farewell now, and once again thank you for viewing, and I'll see you on the next stream, episode 8, where we'll continue with this certification coding and also try to expand some of the things that Alexa can do for us. So good night all.